in for another high-tech conversation. Let's get to it. So, in this broadcasting, we will be talking about the relationship between father and son. The reason why I want to talk on this topic is because, in simple fact, I noticed that a lot of people are not talking about it. I noticed that a lot of people are like, how can I say this in this lifetime? A lot of people are having good experiences with reconnecting with their father, or vice versa. I feel like the moment has to be shared with others, because we sometimes only lock in with what we're being told and not really lock in with what we're being shown from that other individual. So let me just talk on it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? There we go. That's a little bit better. All right. I appreciate everyone that stopped by the broadcasting. If you're watching the live, the rerun of the live, I appreciate you if you watch the whole live, so you can actually get a full understanding of what I will be talking about. The only way you can understand someone is by listening. Just by listening, not thinking anymore, but just listening. And what is happening is basically the information that I'm going through, the experience of what I'm going through, which is still information. I'm transferring that information from myself now into your mind. Now for you to get that data, right? For you to look at life in a better limelight of what you are being taught, of what you think what you think life is, but you would prefer to know what life is. You know what I'm saying? So we about to get into this great conversation. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here in the garden. The sun it feels amazing. I'm not gonna lie. But okay. The relationship between father and son, right? Okay. Let's start from the beginning, when you were a kid. So like, the relationship with father and son, speaking from my experience, is that I can remember my father doing a lot of positive things for me. And what I mean by a lot of positive things, as in like, he would take me out to places. Let me go back a little bit. He showed me, like, basically, without any items or even taking me anywhere, he basically, just him being who he is to me, showed me like he naturally has love for me. He doesn't have to say it. He doesn't even have to move or do anything. I can just look into his eyes and know. You know what I'm saying? But the only way you can see that is if you step out of that third dimensional characteristic of judging them. And the reason why I say judging them is because, on a simple fact, a lot of us sons, we get things misconstrued. And when our mothers are telling us about our fathers, you always have to realize that your mother, that's the way she looks at him, through her eyes, right? It doesn't mean that you have to look at him as the same way as she looks at him, okay? Because what can happen, and it's a big, it's a possibility that it can happen, is that the mother can drift off from what she's originally supposed to be, and now drift off into a characteristic that she's not supposed to be. So you always have to look at that as a son, okay? Before you say, he left, as a son, you have to be logical. You can't just be emotional, okay? I'm not saying that you can't use your emotions, but sometimes as a son, we are programmed to just use our emotions and not look at the logical side of what is going on. Now, for my experience, right? My experience was when I was a kid, right? I definitely remember my father being around. And when I mean around, the guy would work, bring home the money, and take care of the kids. I'm not gonna lie, I remember those days. I remember the days of going to the flea market and picking up things from the flea market, stuff like that. I remember one time, I seen the item and I wanted it really bad. But I felt like as a kid, I was over analyzing and I was thinking in my head like my dad or mom is not going to get it for me. And so I just took it, right? And when I took it, my father ended up finding out, and he basically disciplined me. And in this life, I figured out like why he done that, because he's looking at it like if you want something, all you have to do is just ask. And I felt like he was showing me like if you want something, just come to me and ask, and you shall receive it. You know what I'm talking about? So I was just like, all right, that's cool. You know what I mean? But even in him disciplining me, it taught me to be a little bit better with self. Okay. I remember the times when my father would, how can I say this in simple terms, take me to the car wash. You know what I mean? Get the car wash. And this was like in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? Different time frame from the 2000s. And he would turn up the music, and we'd be listening to music, bopping my head, you know what I mean? Just sitting there, just chilling with him. Like, as a kid, I remember all that. Like, I remember the positive energy that he gave off as a father. And I'm a son just watching this, you know what I mean? So, I remember the times when birthdays used to come around, and he would buy me, you know, different things, but it wasn't just what he bought me. It was just who he was to me. Like, I feel like as a son, sometimes we get caught up in the materialistic things of what fathers can do for us. But before they do anything for you, you should always question yourself and look at yourself of how you look at them. You know what I'm saying? Like, as in, without your father giving you anything, I'm not saying he shouldn't. I'm just saying, without him giving you anything, naturally, right? Naturally, you would want to build that, sorry about that. Naturally, you want to build that relationship with them before any items come into play. Because what happens is when you get to know your father, or vice versa, you start to realize that you guys don't have to build a relationship just off of money and what he can do for you and what the son can do for the father. It's more of looking at it from a fourth dimensional perspective and saying like, hold on, you know what, regardless of the items, you're showing me love. You know what I'm saying? As in, like, how can I say this? It's more of a sense of energy and being present with that energy in order to realize, like, hold on, the items don't even mean nothing. Without him, none of this stuff appears. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I learned from my father. I was like, yo, he do all this stuff on my birthdays. Even if it's not my birthday, he'll just do something positive. But as a kid, I always realized and looked at it as, hold on, I'm a kid, but he might be looking at it as like, hopefully he see what I'm trying to show him. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like as a kid, you know, I was looking at the material things. Because, you know, as a kid, you just like, oh, yeah, I got a new bike. My dad did this. And then you looking at it like, as a kid, like, yeah, I got all these material things. But the kid is not aware just yet until that kid grows up and now become who I am, right? And realize that data from being a child of, yo, the items was cool, but it's really the energy that brought those items towards me. So what really matters is the father. The energy of that father matters. This conversation gonna get deep. The energy of that father matters. Your father matters to you. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like as kids, we are programmed in this third dimensional world called America, so-called America, where we look at our fathers through our mother's lenses. And what I mean by that as in this, my mother and father were married to each other, okay? They had a total of 3 children with each other, It's way more than us now, but it was a total of 3 when she was with my father. And what I had noticed as a kid was that my father was more of a positive spirit. Don't get me wrong, the guy will argue with you if you're wrong, okay? But I noticed that he was a little bit more balanced with himself. My mother was more of like negativity. It's just how I guess she seen the world, as she looked at the world as if she's negative towards herself, then she should be negative towards the world, which is not a great characteristic at all. Because my mother and father, they broke up, right? But before they broke up, I remember the times where my mother was really happy that he was around. I really remember that. I remember the days where he would buy my mother all these different type of jewelry pieces, and she would put on these big old earrings and all these diamonds going up her ear. She got rings on this hand, the other hand, so many different jewelry pieces, and so much love that I can see that he showed my mom. And basically I felt for my mom like she was an individual that probably really never experienced love of what it was. And so my father was there to show her that. It was his, like, how can I say? I felt like as they got married, you take on certain responsibilities. So I feel like for him, I will always say to people that you should show yourself love first, right? And you shouldn't expect someone to show you love second. Because if you don't have the love within you, then you cannot attract love from other beings if you don't have it within you. It's like a magnet. So I feel like for my mom, she probably didn't experience that. And so my father probably was aware of that. And he realized, like, well, I have love within me. Let me just show her love, and pretty much, that'll probably rub off on her. But for some odd weird reason, it just didn't. And that's one of the third dimensional characteristics that people do. You can have someone that doesn't have that love within them, and the person that has love within them can show them that, right? And that third dimensional characteristic may deny it. And this is why we're in a world right now where individuals like myself, if I can spot and realize that you don't have love within you, right? And you're not willing to accept love for what it is, I'm going to probably drive my magic school bus somewhere else. Because there's no need on me trying to change your energy if you're not willing to change your energy on your own. Because now you're going to become a problem towards my world. And my world is not a problem for me or other individuals that have love within themselves. But it's more of a problem to someone else that does not have love in themselves and that cannot accept love from other individuals. So I always tell people all the time, when you are experiencing life and you want to show love towards others, you always have to look for that characteristic. Are they naturally going to accept that love from you, or are they going to reject it? And do they have that love naturally within them? You got it? So when you see that, it's nothing wrong with you taking yourself and going somewhere else, because within love, you don't want to be hurt, right? So it could be a warning signal towards you, showing you like, hey, this individual has not experienced love, and they have not taken themselves outside of their third dimensional character and step into the fourth dimension of them and saying, hold on, how can I expect the world to show me love if I don't have love within me? And that's where it all starts from. So With my mother, she probably just never experienced that or maybe realized it. But I noticed with my father, he definitely had that with him. That's just one of his characteristics. He gonna show you love, you know what I'm saying? So, long story short, he basically tried to show my mother, what love is about. And pretty much I can say, just to sum up the whole story, the reason why they split is not because of him. Once I analyzed the data of what was going on as a kid, all the way into my present life, in this present moment of what I'm speaking to you, I can realize, and it's not just me about taking sides, it's just me simply saying, no, what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, okay? And me as a kid, at first, I wasn't aware of that. I was more of the kid that was programmed like, oh, my dad left me, he don't care about me. That's what I was going based off of. But the whole time, that wasn't the truth. He did not leave me. He didn't leave me. He left my mother. And in this world, once the mother signs the birth certificate, she pretty much takes ownership of the children. We'll get into that topic later. Isn't it funny that the man can't just run off with his own kids, but the woman is okay to run from state to state, city to city with those kids? Without him, those kids wouldn't appear. That's just the real heated truth. So, just to sum this all up, with all the experiences that they went through and I seen as a kid, I noticed that my father, once I analyzed everything, I noticed that my father, he was showing my mother love. That's all he could really offer her was love. And she wasn't in acceptance of that love. So, when you're not in acceptance of love, right, you will artificially reject it because it's not natural for you to reject love. That's not natural. That means that you're still in your third dimensional characteristics of this third dimensional world on the outside of you that pretty much hypnotize you, put your brain in a processing mode of learning things on the outside of you, which you should not do, right? And now conforming you into a third dimensional character that only is willing to accept negativity and feel as though negativity is love versus natural love. You know what I'm saying? So just to sum it all up, pretty much he left. But I had to realize as a son in the present moment, like, I would have done the same thing too. Because with women, depending on what type of woman she is, she can be physically abusive or how can I say, mentally abusive. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't want to experience any of that. If I see that a woman is mentally abusive, I'm running away. I'm literally going somewhere else. I'm literally going to probably, just disappear from her whole life. Because how can I say in simple terms, I did not come to her to abuse her. So just because a woman goes through something in her life doesn't grant her access in order to abuse others. I believe that a lot of women have things very misconstrued with themselves. And what I mean by that as in this, it's funny how this world works, but this is just how I analyze data when I see it. You can have a woman, right, that go through an experience. And let's just say the experience wasn't a great experience. She's not realizing that you only went through that experience, right, for you to realize that if that was a bad experience of what you went through. Let me say this again. Let's just say a woman got into a relationship, right, and the guy didn't like her for who she thought she was, not for what she know herself as, but what she thought herself was. As in this, let's just say a guy, he gets with the girl, and the first time he seen this girl, the only thing she could really offer was pretty much, ass and titties. And what I mean by that, as in, like, when women are doing sign language, right, in this world, she has to realize that you are a woman and you have to keep yourself at a certain stature. So if you're presenting yourself as in a hoe, then me as the guy, I'm only going to treat you of what you believe yourself to be. I'm not going to look at you and say, oh, that's a housewife. No, I'm not dumb, nor am I a simp at all. If you present yourself as a hoe, the rightful thing for me to do is pretty much just clap your pancakes, pretty much. Clap them candy yams. That's about it. That's what I'm supposed to do. Now, let me say this. A woman would misinterpret that, right? And she would put all the blame on the guy and say, oh, he just wanted some booty. Well, hold on. The only reason why he wanted some booty is because the way you presented yourself. You presented yourself as in, clapping cheeks. That's it. If that's what you present yourself as, that's the only way he gonna look at you as. But if you presented yourself as a wife, a homemaker, or something like that, because a lot of women get that confused with slave, but at the same time, you know what I'm saying. Pretty much what I'm saying is that if you present yourself as your truthful self, people are going to naturally accept your truthful self. Some people may reject it because they're still in their third dimensional characteristics. That have nothing to do with you. That has everything to do with themselves. Okay? So, what I want to say to that is that basically, it's all in how you present yourself in order for that person to know who you are. If you present yourself as a third dimensional character, then you're only going to get third dimensional things back. But if you now step out of the third dimension and step into the fourth dimension that is within you, that is not on the outside of you, you will come to realize, like, hold on, you know what? Maybe I should go with the true version of myself, right? Versus the third dimensional self. And the third dimensional self is nothing more than a lower self. Don't get me wrong. The third dimensional self you can learn from, because when you make mistakes, all you got to do is analyze and look at the data that is technically within you, right? And realize, like, okay, hold on. I did make this mistake. How can I not make this mistake again? Don't repeat it. That's it. That's it. Like, the most simplest things that we overthink, it's just like, you don't have to overthink about it. Did you like that experience? Like, no. Okay, do not repeat the experience. So what I'm saying is this: for women, just because you go through something bad, men as well, just because you go through something bad, you went through that experience because, on a simple fact, when you go through something that you believe is bad, you're going through the experience to not, either to, one of two things, either to break that generational curse that's in your family by looking at it and saying, okay, this happened right here. This is the cause, this is the effect. All right, I won't repeat this again. That's it. It's just, we all go through bad situations in order for us not to repeat them again. That's it. It's simple. So, with a lot of people, thank you for stopping by the broadcasting. For a lot of people, when they go through bad experiences, they hang on to them. And it's pretty much you hanging on to negative energy. And when you hang on to that negative energy, you're probably going to repeat the same thing that happened to you. But how are you making any progress with yourself if you're going to hang on to a negative experience that you went through, right? And you're not realizing, like, you only went through the negative experience to learn from it. That's it. It's just like if I went through a negative experience, I would look at it as, okay, I'm not about to get upset. I'm not about to get angry because my emotions are not needed right now. I'm in a learning situation, okay? And I only came here to learn and remember myself, pretty much. So if I'm going through a bad experience, I'm looking at it like, okay, what was the cause, right, to make this happen? And what type of effect, right, that I can do for myself, that way this don't repeatedly happen. That's all it is. That's all. When you come down to you going through a bad experience, you should be I'm gonna be honest with you, when I'm going through a bad experience, the universe looks at me like, this kid is different. Like, this kid is not even getting mad. If anything, he's about to get happy. Because he's looking at it like, oh, this is not a bad experience. This is pretty much me learning myself from a higher degree of what I should not do. A lot of people put their minds, when they're going through an experience, they put their mind just in that bad experience. When in all reality, it's not, you don't have to put your mind there. You can just literally tell your mind like, look, I'm just looking and analyzing of what's going on. I'm just looking and analyzing and figuring out what is really going on. And then after that happens, what can I do to prevent this from happening again? That's it. Because a lot of people don't realize when you go through a bad experience, you can be tricked out of your position. As in, like, you're going through something bad and you're technically arguing with yourself. You're not even arguing with other people, technically, because you'll be sitting there talking about it and thinking about it. That means that you're overanalyzing. Like, you're overthinking is like overanalyzing. Like, don't do that. You're just going to hurt your own mind. You don't want to do that. And who wants to hurt their own mind? Just being honest. So whenever you're going through a bad experience, right? Always look at it from an angle of, what can I learn from this? What can I learn? What can I learn to prevent this from happening? Because it's like, for an example, let's just say you have one generation, right? And in that generation, the uncles are all drunks, right? Now you have the nephews that come to look at their drunk uncles. And this is as an example. The nephew shouldn't look at their uncle as in like they're a bad individual. They should more look at them and say, you know what, look, look. You drinking too much is having you to do this and this. I'm not judging you. You can do what you want to do, uncle. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's pulling you down. And me being your nephew, right? I'm only telling you like what's the best for you. I ain't judging you, uncle. You could do whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? But I see better for you. You know what I'm saying? And when you come in from that angle and you telling someone like, I'm not judging you, like, you pretty much supposed to judge yourself. Judges are not even supposed to be judging people, but that's just the type of third dimensional world they have. But you know, like, it's no need on really like judging someone. And that all refers to the topic of father and son. You know what I mean? Like, so with the nephew and uncle, if you know you have a drunk uncle, it's just more of you analyzing and looking at what they're going through, and you saying to yourself like, yeah, I don't want to be like that. I'm good. But it's also good for you to come up to your uncle and say, look, I ain't gonna judge you or nothing. You've been doing this for a long time, but I just want to let you know I see better things for you if you was to come out this situation. You see what I'm saying? And so the topic of what I was speaking about was father and son. And I feel like, how can I say this? I feel like a lot of us sons were programmed in order to look at our fathers through our mother's eyes. You got to always think, when someone is telling you something, they're telling you data about someone else that they had an experience with, right? But you always have to analyze that the person that's telling you may not be a true person to themselves. They may not be remaining true to themselves. And being that they were a liar to themselves, even if that other person, as in the father, right, was a good person, the mother, depending on who she is going to probably look at him in a negative limelight. And for myself, as a son, I'm not gonna lie, I was definitely programmed like that, to look at it like just from my mother lenses. But in this present moment of me speaking to you, I had to backtrack and say, hold on, this is me looking at him through my mother lenses is not even true and not even accurate. Because technically I got more problems with my mother than I ever had with my father. And you can, as a son, if you a lot of people don't know, like, women they play a lot of psychological games, but if you was to look at your mother and just to analyze her character of who she is, not really to judge her, but just to analyze what she is. And if you was to analyze and say, hold on, my mother is really not who she's supposed to be. She out here walking around like she a third dimensional character. She's not feminine friendly. She's not none of that. So how could I expect my father to stay with someone that's not even acting like them true selves? That's what it all come down to. You're never going to have a man, just being honest, you're never going to have a man that knows himself to stay with a woman that is causing destruction in his life. No matter if that man had children with her, that's not part of the contract. Let me put myself in it. What I'm saying to you is this. This is as an example, universe. I don't want this, okay? This is as an example. All right. That's like if I don't have children right now. But if I got into a relationship with a woman, right? And I decided to have children with her. And let's just say psychologically and physically, because for my mother, it was psychologically and physically. And I used to watch it as a kid, where she's arguing with him. He's pretty much taking care of the whole household. Like, this guy pays for all the bills. I done watched it myself. Pays for all the bills. It's not even a 50-50 thing. She's pretty much at the house, and all she got to do is just be a mother to her children. And for myself, what I can say is that if I was to have a relationship with a woman and have children with her, I'm just being honest with you, and she started treating me like how my mother treated my father, I'm telling you, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. Listen, I'm not leaving my children. I'm not leaving them. You're thinking I'm leaving them, but I'm not leaving them. You're looking at it from a perspective like, well, the household is over here and you're leaving the household. Pay attention. In this world, can you just take your children with you when you leave? Let's just say you're a husband, right? And you're having a bad experience with your wife. She's treating you horribly, okay? And you're saying like, yo, I'm ready to leave. I can't deal with this no more. So men have a breaking point, okay? We have a breaking point when it comes to certain things. And the reason why we have a breaking point is because if we don't break off, then you know what's going to happen. We're going to probably use our strength in order to stop what's going on. That's just our natural capabilities. That's just what we do. Like, if you put something in front of us and it's trying to hurt us, naturally our instincts is going to be like, nah, hurt it. That's just natural. That's not a bad thing. Just because she's a woman? No. No. No one gets a free pass based on you just, I'm a woman, so I can just run all over you. No, I'm going to leave you. You have a nice one by yourself, okay? So what I'm saying is, if I was a husband and I had children, okay, and I was going through a bad experience, universe is as an example, okay? And I was going through a bad experience with that woman, right? And I had a breaking point where I'm like, yeah, it's time for me to go, man. I can't keep doing this, man. I can't keep doing this. Technically, the man is not leaving his children. And I'll show you why. Isn't it funny if a man has a child with a woman, and let's say he decides to leave, and he decides to want to take his children with him, right? The reason why he's taking his children with him is because he realized that the woman doesn't have the capabilities in order to raise his children, okay? Now, isn't it weird and isn't it very funny that if a guy naturally takes his children with him, pack their bags up, put them in the car, right, and transport them somewhere else where they can have a better life, you know that the woman can go to the police and say, he kidnapped my kids. Pay attention. He kidnapped my kids. Hold on. Stop. The sperm, right, came from him. So technically he was carrying the kids before the woman did. That's real shit. Okay. But how is it that the woman, pay attention, How is it that the woman believed that the kids is only hers? I'll show you. You know that thing that's called a birth certificate? Yeah. You know that that birth certificate is technically no more than a slave certificate. Let me show you why. Once you sign the birth certificate, technically you're signing your rights away as a parent to your own children. And now letting, how can I say, the government or the state that you reside in have control over them. This is why a lot of people have to go to man-made doctors, churches, what is that, school, what is that, college, and they're nothing more than institutions. But the trick is that if you, the mother, signs the birth certificate, right, then she gets ownership of those kids. You don't have ownership. Hold on. I know you're gonna say, well, what happened if I signed the birth certificate too? I wouldn't recommend you do that, because now you are participating in saying that the state or government has ownership over your children. We'll go into that a little bit deeper about the birth certificate, but that's like first level surface information. And so what I realize is this. When that paperwork is being signed, right? Do you know in the courtroom, that same certificate, right, is used in the courtroom to show who has ownership of the kids? Why do you think a lot of men don't sign that birth certificate? It's not because they don't want to be with their children. That ain't the thing. They just don't want to sign their children over to a government or how can I say, a government or a state entity. They don't want to do that. But the mother will. And they'll tell you something on the lines of, well, you got your birth certificate to make sure that you are a citizen of the United States. No, they're lying. They're lying. We'll talk more about the birth certificate and how it's tied into a slave certificate in the next live, because I really want to keep this conversation on just father and son. So when that transpire, right, you no longer have ownership of your children. You could try it out for yourself. You could literally tell the mother, like, yeah, I'm leaving you. And in return, if you take your kids, they're going to say you kidnapped them. Hold on. How is it that the mother can do the same thing to you and you report it to the police and they're like, oh, that's not kidnapping, everything all good? Everything all good when the woman do it, but if the guy do it, it's called kidnapping? Hold on. The key word is called kidnapping, right? Last time I checked, you said the word kidnapping. Okay, I don't see the kids napping. They're not taking a rest or a sleep. So what type of crime is this? That's why I say the English text is like a spell. You said kidnapping. Yeah. Okay, kidnapping. Where the kids at? Are they taking naps? So what type of crime did I do? I don't get it. But we are programmed to believe like, oh yeah, you kidnapping them kids. Like, kidnapping is not even a crime, bro. Look, they gotta say it for what it really is. Where the kids at taking a nap? I don't see them. Where they at? I don't see. Where? Okay, it just don't make sense to me. So, how can I say? Just to get back on topic. For my father and mother, pretty much they were a married couple. And I can say when my father was there in the household, he pretty much kept that positive presence up in the house. My mom was more of a negative force, just being honest. So, I feel as though my father had his breaking point and he pretty much just said, man, I gotta go. I can't, If I stay here any longer, he gonna probably do something that he wish he never done. And I'll be honest with you, I would prefer him to leave versus doing something that he don't want to do in order to end up getting locked up and taking his whole life away. Just being honest as a son, when you analyze everything and step out of your mother eyes of how she view your father, and you just look at him for what he is and get to know him through your son, through that, you know what I mean? If anyone is going through a situation where they're like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, what time is it? Oh, I gotta go in a minute, but it's all right. But if anyone is going through a relationship with their father and mother, and let's just say in the present moment you don't speak to your father, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna just be honest with you. The only reason why you don't speak to him is because you're viewing him how your mother wants to view him. And that's something that you should never do with anyone. You know what I'm saying? It's better for you to get the truth about your father or anyone in this world directly from your lenses of how you look at them. Because someone could tell you, just be honest, a lot of people in this world, when I speak, a lot of people are third dimensional characters. So when they listen, they're not listening really. They don't really have the capability to listen. They're just looking at certain things that I'm saying, and they don't know about themselves, and they're not aware of themselves. So a lot of people will look at me and be like, oh yeah, this guy's on drugs. And I'd be like, I'm on drugs? And they'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, oh, okay, cool, no problem. Let's see if their mind is on drugs. Let's see what type of dimension they're in right now. Let me ask you a question real quick. What is chicken called? And this is how I know if their mind is either alive or is it dead. And this is how you flip things on other third dimensional characters, because you're realizing like this third dimensional character don't even know themselves. Like they're not aware of anything. No. They're only aware about the things that happen on the Apple iPhone. They don't realize the Apple iPhone was a device inside of the Bible. And when your mind bites the fruit of this Apple device, all the how can I say, all the information from the third dimensional world, which is forbidden, right, get downloaded in your mind. Nah, they think, look, their mind is on drugs. What apple can you pick from any garden on any part of this land that's going to give you forbidden knowledge? Think. Just think. They're on drugs. I'm not on drugs. They can't even see that setup coming, even if I broke it down to them. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is what I be talking about with third dimensional characters. They are very funny individuals, and they're not even real. Consciously, they're not even real. Because if you're telling me as a Bible believer, like, yeah, you know, Eve had bit the fruit. Eve didn't bite no fruit. Eve didn't bite no fruit. That's just the story that they manipulated your mind with. Where is the apple at? It's the Apple iPhone. Do you not realize that when your face, right, interface with technology, that these are technically both minds, right, that are transferring information from one small mind to a bigger mind? That's it. So how did Eve go to what garden? The Garden of Eden, and she had bit what? A fruit? Oh, it was the Apple iPhone device. And you can look in modern times and look at women and be like, look, it's right there in front of you, bro. Look. Go on your Apple device, go on Instagram, Snapchat, and look at what every woman is doing. Just look. Pay attention. Do you notice that their characteristics all, right? They all follow each other. No one is really unique of how they do things. Don't get me wrong. Every now and then you'll see a woman that do some unique things. Don't get me wrong. But is it actually advertised every day? No. A lot of women operate and copy each other. How did they do that? They said the Apple, right? Okay, got you right here, the Apple iPhone. Look at women in modern days. They always got their head down, right? And they always looking at their phone. Do you realize that the information that's being transferred to that phone is being transferred to their mind? That's the Apple right there. They bite that shit every day with their minds. Every day. And it's very unaware that the Apple iPhone is programming them. But I'm on drugs. this shit is funny. But back to what I was saying before. You have mothers that operate within that third dimensional system. So they're technically a big ass iPhone that's just walking by and don't know of themselves, just being honest. That's why I look for uniqueness in women. But back to what I was talking about, how can I say this? When it came to the relationship between my mother and father, I remember a lot of good things that were going on when he was there. And as soon as he left, right, that's when things took a downhill. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Things just got out of hand. You know what I'm saying? And so, in this present moment of my life, I had to realize, like, I had to look at him for who he truly is. Because basically, I can say for right now, me and him are reconnecting of who we are, right? And I noticed that the more and more I get to know him, the less that I see of what my mother viewed him as. She's like, oh yeah, you're a bad person, this, that, and third. But I'm looking at her, I'm like, how he a bad person when you used to say all the time, you know, this is when we all got our flaws, but pretty much my mother would drink, she liked to drink, okay? And so within her flaws, when she get drunk, for some odd reason, I don't know for what it is, for women, when they get drunk, they start telling the truth sometimes, or they get more crazier, depending. But when my mom used to get drunk or whatever the case may be, she would say to me like, yeah, your dad, he used to treat me real well, and she used to show me all different type of pictures about him and all different type of things, just like reminiscing. Sometimes she would even cry over this guy, but I'll be looking at her confused like, you just told me he was a piece of shit. Like, I'm confused because I'm still a kid at this point in time. So I'm like, I'm confused. Like, you know what? When I get to know him, I'll get to know him. But I think as sons, I know as sons, we shouldn't get mad at our fathers for leaving the mother. You need to view your mother for who she truly is, though. Okay? And I could say for my mother right now, in this present time, she is still doing things against herself. She has not changed. And it's not just me saying, oh, one parent is better than the other. No. I'm just looking at the data of both of them. And I realized with my mother, everything she said about him is technically a lie. Because I'm getting to know him in his present moment, and I'm like, hold on, this guy is not who the fuck I thought he was. Right. Don't go based on thoughts. Go based on the experience of knowing. Because when you go based on thoughts, the mother could be manipulating your mind, right? And knowing in the future that you and your father is going to have a good relationship, and she knows that, right? But women are very spiteful as well. So they like, yeah, if you don't have a good relationship with your father, then you will always come and depend on me. Like, no, that's not going to happen. No, I'm in control of my life. So the way I view him is the way I view him, not how others view him. Someone can say, oh, such, your father did such. I'd be looking at them like, I don't know if that's to be true. I don't know. He didn't do it to me. Why did he do it to you? What did you do to him in order for him to make you do that? Everything has a cause and an effect. So the cause was my mother treating him in a unintelligent way, right? And in the process of her doing that, okay, now you have him looking at himself and saying like, hey, I can't deal with someone that's just disrespecting me. You know what I mean? They're not actually valuable towards me. And as men, that's what we look for. We look for a woman to be valued to us, especially when you already building yourself up and you can pretty much handle, you know, everything in this third dimensional world. You're looking at a woman like you're supposed to be more of an asset versus a problem. I'm gonna just be honest with you. Me, when I'm dating women, I'm very strong. So when I tell women like, listen, I don't like that, and I'm gonna tell you one time and one time only. Okay? You do it again, I'm driving off on you. You got it? This is the magic school bus. I'm the damn driver. You take a damn seat and follow the commands that I give you. A lot of women like, I can't deal with that. Get the fuck off my bus. You can get the fuck off. Get the fuck off. I'm not with none of that being a simp. I'm not with none of that, oh, I can manipulate your mind. No. I'm not with none of that. If you don't like me for who I am, get the fuck off my bus. And for some reason, women, they look at me and be like, okay, I'm sorry. I'd be like, yeah, I know you're damn sorry. Huh? Get your shit together. I'm gonna tell you one time, and I don't repeat myself to women. Why? I'm gonna show you why. When you keep repeating yourself to women, they like, oh, he ain't gonna do shit. He gonna keep fucking talking. But when you say it one time and then back it up with action, she like, oh my God, like you just fucked up her whole world. Cause she's looking at you like, okay, yeah, what you tried to do with the last guy, you ain't gonna do with me. You got that? I know who I am. You got that? You either get down with my commands, right? Or you could go somewhere else in the wilderness. It's a lot of stragglers out there for women. There's a lot of stragglers, okay? And I call them stragglers because on the super fact, they're struggling with themselves. It's not with the world, they're struggling with themselves. When a woman doesn't know how to realize, like, what is a woman characteristics? I know this from the back of my hand, fit, friendly, and understanding with themselves first. You got it? When they understand themselves first, naturally they're going to understand what type of character that they are in this world. That's it. Or, don't get me wrong, you have this thing where you have, how can I say, you got third dimensional televisions, right? Right. And for women, let me show you. For women, when they watching TV, they'll be watching TV, and as they watch TV, they'll be like, they'll be looking at it. And as they look at it, right, women can see something negative on TV, and they'll program their mind to be like, oh, maybe I should try that on my boyfriend. Now, guys are looking at it like, because we're more logical than women, we're looking at it like, oh, nah, that's not something I even want to be in. But pay attention. And it's what I tell dudes all the time. Watch something, right? Watch something that your girl like to watch. As you watching it, watch her. And you will realize why she watching this stuff. Depending on what she watching. She could be watching Love and Hip Hop. She can be watching anything that's technically negativity. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you can't watch it. But listen. As guys, when we watching something negative, we like, yeah, I ain't trying to participate in that. I'm glad I got to see that. Oh, I don't want nothing to do with that. You see what I'm saying? Versus women, they like, oh, yeah, I want to try it out. I want to try it out. So let me ask you a question. When I see a woman watching negative things, I'd be like, why are you watching it? And I say it when I'm getting to know a woman, I say it in a way where she don't even see that I'm even like trying to even find out why she's even doing it. I say it in so slick a way like, oh, I say it just like this. I'd be like, oh yeah, this is a good TV show. You like watching this? And then she might look at me and she'd be like, oh yeah, I like watching it. She don't realize I'm actually learning from her. It's just the way you say it. If I say it like, yo, why you watching this? Then she gonna look at me like, you see what I'm saying? I don't want that reaction. So I'm trying to do the studies on her. I'm like, yeah, this is a good TV show. Sometimes you just got to walk people's minds into certain setups when you're trying to get to know them. So with women, I'd be looking at them and I'd be like, yeah, this is a good TV show, even though this TV show is negative as hell. And I'd be like, you like this? And she'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, oh, okay, you like this. And she like, yeah, I like this shit cool. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. And in the back of my mind, I'm looking at her like, yeah, I ain't about to be around here too long. Because the television, right, can downgrade the conscious or upgrade the conscious. If she's saying that she like this negativity, that means in her mind, she believed that this is real. And if she believed that this is real, then 9 times out of 10, she's getting she's getting the, how can I say this? She's pretty much getting the upgrades, downgrades, technically, right, from the third dimensional world, and now using that data to implant her mind, now to use that against you. That's what happens all the time. A lot of guys be like, I'm gonna just be honest with you, like my past relationship, right? In my past relationship, I used to always sit here and think about it like, yo, why this girl always being negative or whatever the case may be? But it was based on what she was watching. She believed like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to argue with my dude every day. Like, no, you're not doing that with me. I'm getting the fuck out of here. That was a 15-year relationship. You know what I'm saying? And I know like, yo, 15 years and y'all ain't had no kids? Hell no. Because even though I was going through the experience for about 15 years, we was high school sweethearts. And you know how that can run for a long time. I know some guys is like, 15, bro? Bro, 15 years, bro? Not getting married, bro. No. I wasn't, how can I say? I probably wasn't looking at it how other guys are looking at it, but I knew like off top, I wouldn't get married to her and I would never have kids with her. So if you're not going to marry her and you're not going to have kids with her, why the fuck are we still here? You know what I'm saying? And that's higher self and lower self. Like, okay, bro, this is not even beneficial. Why the fuck you still here? Like, I'm thinking she gonna change. Listen, if she's not willing to change for herself, she's not gonna be willing to change for you. Change always start with the first character, not the second character. I can tell you to change, but it takes you as the woman to change for yourself. That's it. I can't punch a chick in the face every day and keep yelling and screaming at her. Change. No, I'm not about to do that. I'm just not. That's too much work. That's just too much. Like, that's just too much work. But so like when it comes to like my mother and father, me as a son, I was viewing him like how my mother looked at him. You know what I mean? And my problem that I had with myself was pretty much, how can I say this in simple terms? I would always say to him, you left me, not realizing like he never left you. If you just look at the whole situation, right? And if how can I say, they didn't have this system where your mother signs the birth certificate, if she never signed that, he could take the kids and there's nothing that the state can do. This is why I encourage all guys. Your children are naturally gonna be born here through you. You know what I'm saying? And through the woman that you put your seed into. But the government or the state that you live in was never at the table or in the bedroom when you two were making these children. So why the hell am I signing my children constitutionary birthrights away to the state or a government entity? Why am I doing that? Am I doing that because based on what I was being told, like, oh well, you need the birth certificate because on the simple fact to realize that the kids are citizens? No, they're not citizens to the fucking government. Nor is there a citizen towards any corporate entity. No, you guys are your own corporate entity. You guys can set up your own trust, your own family trust of all your businesses, cars and everything, money, everything. Y'all your own corporate entity. So why are y'all letting another corporate entity take ownership of your children? We're going to get into that a little bit later because that's just surface information and it can get more crazier than that. Okay? So I always tell people all the time, like, the only reason why a lot of guys, how can I say this in simple terms? A lot of guys go through that experience is because of that birth certificate, just being honest. So, back to what I was talking about earlier. Give me 1 second. A lot of people, when it comes to mother and father as the kids, you're only there to analyze of what's going on, right? There's no need on even judging neither one of them. Why? Because what the mother has done if you are a son, right? If you're a son and you realize what your mother has done to your father, then you know, like, oh yeah, this ain't the woman that I would want. But a lot of us don't look at it like that. We look at it like, oh yeah, this is what they got, so this is what I'm gonna pick. No, run off, bro. You can go pick something else, bro. It take you to pick that. Remember, we the ones that approach women, right? Even though we go into a new wave where women are gonna now start approaching men, because they realize a lot of their opportunities are just dropping off on them by being a third dimensional character. Okay? So it's pretty much a world of being balanced, showing women that they can naturally approach men and it's not a thirst trap or wherever they thinking in a third dimensional world. But well, like I was saying before, when you are viewing both of those characters, you have to realize, are both of those characters of truth, or are one character is of truth and one character is of lies? And you have to analyze, like, when someone is telling you something, like your mother could be telling you, like, yeah, you know, your father, like, this, and the third. Hold on. Pay attention to what she doing, though. Pay attention to what your mom doing. Is she actually true to herself? And if she true to herself, has she been remaining true to you? Okay, then. So if she has not been remaining true to herself or been remaining true to you, how do you expect her to be truthful towards anyone else? And that's including your father. Maybe that's the reason why a lot of fathers ran off on these so-called mothers. Mothers? Yeah, M-O-T-H-E-R, apostrophe S. It doesn't really sound like mothers to me. It sounds like others. Take the M off and what you got? O-T-H-E-R, apostrophe S, others. And that's what mothers do to their children. They treat them like others. Like, you know how sometimes some people be like, yo, my mom don't even treat me like I'm her son. Because she's not a mother to you. She's a other. Pay attention to the English text. You'll realize, like, hold on, bro. You telling me, yeah. They're just titles. They're just titles. I'm just looking at the person for what they are, though. Are they really true to themselves? And if they're true to themselves, that means they can see in a truthful light. You see what I'm saying? Like, when you true to self and it's inside you, that means that you can be truthful to others. And it don't matter what it is. Truthfulness is not bad or good. It's just being true. Someone, like, I'm gonna just be real with you. I quite find it funny that in America, if you see someone that's like 300 pounds, right? Okay. And look, I can do it in a way that you interpret it as being negative. I walk up to them like, yeah, you fat as hell. You need to get your fat ass up and start eating some vegetables and drinking some water. Now you would say to me like, yo, bro, you being negative towards them. Hold on. So me telling them the truth, based on the way I delivered it, is negative? Okay, hold on, watch this. Now that same person, that same 300-pound person is gonna be like, I'm not listening to you. F you. Okay, hold on, stop. In the process of you not listening to me, you're gonna die out early. Now hold on. Let's do it in a positive way. I come up to the person and say, hey, how you doing today? I'm doing fine. Like, hey, I'm not trying to tell you what you wanted, what you need to do, but I suggest you slow it down on the fast foods and eat vegetables and also drink water. Listen, let me tell you something. I done did that with people and both of them people told me, fuck you. It's not how you deliver the message. Everybody say, it's how you deliver the message. No, it ain't. That's a lie. Some people don't like the truth. You got it? And it don't matter which angle you come in, they just don't like the truth. So I'm gonna just be honest with you. When I see individuals doing that to themselves, I pretty much just back off of them. I don't let them know nothing. I just don't. I just be looking at it like, hold on, let me say this. If they're not willing to accept truth, that's their own responsibility to themselves in order to accept the truth or not accept the truth. That's their own responsibility. That has nothing to do with me. That's why I don't attach myself to others people's belief systems, or only if it's true, then that's something different. But I don't attach myself to how people interpret things, because this is what I always ask people. I say, are you in control of your own mind? And all people are going to say, yes, I'm in control of my own mind. Well, if you're in control of your own mind, aren't you the one misinterpreting the way how I'm saying things? And this is when they get quiet, because they always try to fan it off on you when it's technically on them. You know what I'm saying? So I feel as though, as like mothers and fathers, you always have to view them for the truth, not how someone is telling you. Because me telling you is changing your eye to how I want you to see them. You know what I'm saying? So when you want to get to know someone, especially your fathers or your relatives, always view them from the angle of how you got to know them. You know what I'm saying? So all I would say to people is that never view someone based on how the next person view them. View them based on how you view them. Because what happens is this. My mother can say, well, your father, he wasn't the best. Hold on. He got to be the best. He got to be. He's currently married. He's not married to my mother, but he's currently married to another woman. What? There got to be some type of truth in this guy. What does that other woman see in him, right, that my mom can't see in him? What is that? So now, in the present moment, I don't view him how my mom want me to view him. I view him just the way I'm supposed to view him. You got it? And so what ended up happening is we basically have a relationship with each other. And it's genuine. It's not based on the strength of what he can do to me. Do for me. It's just based on the strength of who is he to me. That's it. Because like I said again, we all came here to remember, right? And in the process of you remembering yourself, you're going to remember others. But don't let data from someone else interfere with the data that you're being, how can I say, shown or being programmed to see in your present moment. Because like I tell people all the time again, are you in the past or are you in the present? Now, if you still in the past, my bad, but you always ask people, are you in the past or are you in the present? And I always say to them all the time, if you're in the past, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be stuck in your ass. Okay? Look at the word called past, P-A-S-S, take the P off, or whatever the case may be. Now that is different. This bird yesterday was running away from me, and now the bird is actually coming closer towards me. That's different. And that piece of orange is gone, so that's probably the orange that he ate. This different. Nature just moved different. When you come out of the past and how you viewing things, and now step into the present moment of how you should view things, you will see things a lot more brighter than the way you actually need to see them. So like I said, I just want to sum this conversation up with basically, if you are a son, a nephew, whatever you are in your family, for the men and women, but I really want to keep the focus on the men. Get to know them for who they are. Even if your uncle is a drunk, it's something that you still can learn from them. And it can be simply as saying as, well, they drunk, I don't want to become that. And then, listen, you don't have to keep yourself away from them. You may never know, you saving yourself, you could help save them. It's not your responsibility to save them. That's their own responsibility. But if they are a relative towards you, you always want to keep yourself in a, how can I say, a balanced limelight where you like, yo, I see more greater things for you than just this. And you got to think about it. What happened if that uncle had never heard them words in a long time? You know what I'm saying? Like, words go a long way. So if you got anyone in your family, you know what I mean, especially the men, talk to them. Just say something. Because it could change their world. Mentally, they may think like they're alone. So that's why they drink themselves away. But you got to think, what did they go through in order to become what they are now? You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I feel like as men, we should communicate with each other, because it's easy for guys to communicate with each other versus, you know, what women doing sometimes. I don't know what they doing, but you know what I mean? I feel like as guys, it's easy to communicate. It just is. Just giving each other some type of positive words. And because we're all going through a journey. We're all coming here to basically remember ourselves of who we are. But like I said again, no matter what you are in your family, you know what I mean, it's not your responsibility to change them. But I feel as though it's our responsibility to at least tap in and just to say, hey, listen, I know what you're doing, right? And I'm not judging you. But at the same time, I see that you can be greater. You know what I mean? And they're going to accept that, you know, they can either accept it or they may not accept it. But always remember for yourself, you was one of the ones that came there and said, yo, I see better for you. And realize with yourself that you will remember that for the rest of your life, of you saying, not what they said, but what you said as an individual to them, saying, I know you can change. I know it's a higher angle of how I should look at that, but the information that comes to me, but I feel as though, like, just give them some kind words. It, like I said, it's their responsibility to change. So don't look at it as if they don't change that you didn't help them. No. You helped them by simply giving them kind words, encouraging them. That's it. And that's all you really need to do. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, when you see them, hey, how you doing, Aunt? What up, father? How you doing? What up, nephew? How you doing? What up, brother? How you doing? I see that you can do a lot more better than what you're doing. I ain't judging you. You know what I mean? That's the key word that you want to use with them, because a lot of people get it confused with when you're giving them high vibrational information. They look at it as like, oh, you judging me. And I'm like, nah, I'm not judging you at all. You can do whatever you want to do, but I just see that there's a higher form within you. And it's up to you to actually release that energy on yourself to make yourself into the most highest form of what you can be. Like I said again, this is your ancestor, General Y God, signing over and out. Y'all have a nice one.